Hello, welcome to U.S. History 1. We are on Unit 2, Part 2, and today we're going to talk about some of the English colonies. All right, starting with the English colonies, we're going to look at the Massachusetts colony. We did talk about the Pilgrims, but they weren't supposed to be in Massachusetts. If you remember, they were supposed to go to Virginia and got lost. All right. Well, the Massachusetts colony was founded by Puritans, who are members of the Church of England, just as the Pilgrims were. But you'll remember the Pilgrims were separatists. They wanted to separate themselves from the Church of England. The Puritans wanted to purify. That's where they get their name, and reform the church to make it better. But they wanted to continue to be part of the church. Right. The Puritans, as you look at them as a whole, were mostly well-educated. They were merchants, meaning they had their own businesses. Some were even landowners. Back in England, King Charles I did not like them, and so they found themselves often being persecuted in England, which was one of the reasons they wanted to leave. There's Charles I. The charter was given to the Puritans in 1629, and that gave them the right to start a colony in Massachusetts as part of the British Empire. So in 1630, a group of Puritans did arrive in Massachusetts. They were led by this man, John Winthrop. And, well, they would do very well, actually, under Winthrop. When you looked at their colonial government, it was based on stockholders, and only the stockholders could vote. So those that went to the colony that couldn't vote, of course, grew to resent the ones that could vote. And so that caused some small problems within Massachusetts. Right? But eventually that right to vote was extended to all male church members. So as long as you were part of the church, you could vote. And you were male. Sorry, ladies. Right? Later they did establish a legislature that became known as the General Court. And I believe later it was known as the General Assembly. When you look at Massachusetts, well, and actually the British colonies in general, from 1629, the year they got their charter, to 1640, so about 11 years, you have 15,000 men, women, and children who were going to migrate to the Americas. All right? Now, the 15,000 here are the ones that went to Massachusetts, and it is known as the Great Migration. So Massachusetts is going to grow considerably in that 11 years. In this map, you can see where England is in the top right corner there. And you got different ones coming to New England, and you've got different ones going to the Chesapeake colonies, which are Maryland and Virginia. And there are also British citizens moving to the West Indies and the Caribbean islands, such as St. Croix, St. Kitts, Nevis, Barbados. You can also see Bermuda on there. All right. When you look at the inset there, the purple areas are where most of the Puritans were and where they came from. All right, Yorkshire County, you can see in the top right there, West Country. Those are different counties for England. And then they're going to move to those towns such as Plymouth and Cambridge and a few others there that are on the map of Massachusetts. The Connecticut colony. Well, it started by that man there, Thomas Hooker, when he leads 100 settlers out of Massachusetts in 1836. Connecticut, if you know your geography, is right next to Massachusetts when you're looking at a map. So basically, you're going to, depending on what part, you're going to head south or you're going to head west from Massachusetts, depending on what part of Massachusetts you're in. Right. And they settled along the Connecticut River and founded the city of Hartford, which is today the capital of Connecticut. Right. They did write we'll call it a constitution, but it's known as the Orders of Connecticut, Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, excuse me. All right, and it allowed all men who owned property to vote. It limited the power of the governor. Those are things we're going to talk about later when we get to Revolution, about the power of the governors as opposed to the power of the king. All right. In 1662, it's 20-some years later, before Connecticut was separated from Massachusetts officially, a new charter was granted by the King of England. All right, so quite a bit, officially they were still part of Massachusetts. 1662, they get their own charter and they become their own colony.